welcome to another episode of Oh So Curious. Thanks for tuning in. My name, of course, is Daniel, and today with me we have two other curious minds. All in all, that makes three of us. So let's start off with Mags. How are you doing today, Mags?
I'm great. How are you, Dan? Or
I'm
Daniel? We still I'm still not quite sure how to call you. We've
I
known
I'll
each other for a while.
I don't know.
Daniel.
I go by
Yeah.
Dan. I go by Dan. I
Let's
like
go,
that.
Dan. Hi,
Yeah.
Dan.
All right.
I'm
Well,
great.
great. Great that you're
Excited
great.
for today.
Awesome. Well, we also with us have today Roland coming from
Oh,
his
I'm on
basement.
screen. Hi, Dan. How are you?
It's nerve-wracking.
I'm doing good. How about you? All right, thumbs up there. Okay, great. So, yeah, it's three curious minds today, trying to tell time. The last few times you saw us, it was what, like some combination of four or five of us. So
We've
today,
had a lot of minds together
Too
lately.
crowded.
too crowded. Yeah, we're like we usually before then we used to always do three of us, right? Like if you like, we don't want to have too many
Yeah.
cooks in the kitchen, and Mags is in the kitchen literally, but speaking of which, that's sort of a foreshadowing for what's to come.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's
We
foreshadowing.
have something cooking up. So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah, let's kick off with the rundown, shall we? So we're gonna talk.
Do it.
I'll just walk you guys through what's gonna be happening on the show today. All right. So to kick off the show, we're gonna have some quick hits. You know, quick. We're gonna talk about what happened last week. Then we're gonna have an episode of Hey Magdalena. Um, then from Rolan Underground. We're talking about the perfect movie formula. Then we compare Night and Day and Bang Bang. And after that, of course, we're going to preview the Oscars. So the Oscars, coming up in a week, coming up in a few days, depending on when you watch it. And we will be talking about that. All right. So with that said, guys, are you excited for the
Bang
show?
bang.
I just had a cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. I am pumped.
Great.
That's awesome. I just realized I switched the order of video that we were gonna do. So instead of going to quick hits and to Hey Magdalena, we're gonna save that, right? I changed my mind, and then I didn't change the graphic. So what we're
We've
gonna
been
do.
lied to, but
Okay.
okay. That's
I
fine.
see how it is.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. The Hey Magdalena, I think, is something that's worth waiting for. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do quick hits. We're gonna roll underground. Then we're gonna come back and talk about the two movies. You know, the Night and Day and Bang Bang, and then we're gonna go to Hey Magdalena. So we're gonna make you wait. But right now, let's throw to some quick hits here. Who did those quick hits this week? Was it Andrew? I think it was Andrew.
Yeah,
Andrew.
Yeah, he's not on the show today, but he did the quick hits. So let's go to the quick hits, shall we?
All right, it's time for some quick hits. Here's what went down this week. Early in the week, Empire gave us our first look at Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch in Marvel Studios' upcoming sequel, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Of course, we've already seen her in trailers for the movie, but these new images have more of a je ne sais quoi. On a more somber note, legendary actor William Hurt passed away this week. Known for his star-making turns in broadcast news, A History of Violence, and his Academy Award-winning performance in Kiss of the Spider-Woman. Many will recognize Hurt as General Thunderbolt Ross from the MCU. An understated, masterful performer. He will be missed. Later in the week, Variety confirmed the news that Amazon has now completed its $8.5 billion acquisition of MGM. The legendary Hollywood Studios catalog includes franchises like The Handmaid's Tale, Pink Panther, Stargate, and of course, the crown jewel, 007 himself, James Bond. The acquisition adds prestige and luster to Amazon's already burgeoning content portfolio on Prime Video, featuring premium licensed and original series and films from Amazon Studios. And last but not least, Marvel Studios dropped the first trailer for Miss Marvel this week. The upcoming Disney Plus series will feature Kamala Khan, Marvel's first Pakistani-American Muslim teenage superhero who idolizes Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. As a relatively new character, introduced only in 2013 by Marvel Comics, Ms. Marvel continues the MCU streak of diversifying its roster of heroes. having recently added Shang-Chi and Eternals to the mix. And that's it. Them's the quick hits. Oh, and be sure to check out the newest part of Oh So Curious, Hey Magdalena. It's been real. Peace.
Welcome to Rolan Underground, where we talk about what's happening in the world above while in my grandparents' basement. I'm your host, Contact Trace. I've been contact traced. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not gonna name names. I'm just gonna say it's a family member that I live with, which is my grandmother. Anywho, I got tested yesterday. I don't think I have it. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, I'm straight up invincible. Like, I just can't be harmed in any way. I've avoided COVID a good number of times, especially in the past month or so. I mean, my girlfriend got COVID, one of my best friends got COVID. I straight up was at work having lunch with somebody, like face to face, and she got pulled like a couple hours later because she had COVID. She straight up said my name, I still worked, and I didn't have COVID. While I'm in my basement, just kind of going out of my mind, I was thinking about the age-old question. The question, really, if you want to get down to it, what makes a perfect movie? What are the rules? Are there any rules? And let me tell you something, folks. There are. And I have created, if you will, a formula for the perfect movie. It's quotable, all right? Every great movie to be remembered for all of history needs to be quotable. You know, the only reason The Godfather is still in circulation is because of the classic, leave the guns, take the cannolis. All right, let's be honest with ourselves, okay? That's really the only reason. The line needs to strike you in some certain way. Maybe it's an epic line, maybe it's a scary line, maybe it's just a downright hilarious line. You know, The Princess Bride is a very quotable movie, and possibly the perfect movie. But it's really early in the video, and obviously it's not gonna be that. The characters are relatable. Why should we care about them if we can't have a connection with these characters? What's the point? I don't understand. You know, a character needs to be grounded in some sort. It doesn't matter if it's a sci-fi movie, it doesn't matter, like, animated movie about bears or some sort of animal, I don't know. At the end of the day, we need to relate with them in some sort of way. Because I'm definitely not saying they need to be perfect. They shouldn't be perfect. I think a perfect character is dumb and pointless. An imperfect character is somebody that we can root for. We all love an underdog, so just give us somebody that we can relate to. Don't make them overly stupid, because that means that you think that we're stupid. Let's keep going. Soundtrack. A soundtrack can make or break a film, I swear. Alright? And I'm not talking about like a playlist. I'm talking, it can also be a score. You know, a beautiful score can move you to pieces. It can escalate a scene to 1,000 degrees. There's just something about a score that really makes the movement of the characters more natural. It makes more sense. You don't want a dry, bland scene with no music in the back. It's awkward. It's weird. It might even be a little too dramatic. I mean, I know some friends that straight up just listen to music scores. Like, whenever they write, that's what they listen to. And then a playlist, you want to talk about a playlist? Yeah, a playlist can help, all right? A playlist can show an audience a possibly new favorite song, all right? It can reach maybe a nostalgic string, which we've talked about helps a lot. It can explain the setting of the characters. It can do anything. Camera work. Let's be honest, we're not gonna watch something that has shitty camera work, all right? I don't wanna watch something that's like overexposed or it's underexposed where I can't see a thing. You know, I want something that has nice shots, all right? I'm not saying that it has to be perfect camera work or groundbreaking camera work, but it's gotta be good camera work, all right? I don't wanna sit through an hour-and-a-half movie looking at VHS tapes. Understand what I'm saying? You gotta put in some care, put in some thought, maybe be a little inventive. And finally, a voice. A voice is quite possibly the most important thing you can have with creation. It should be one singular voice that goes throughout. I don't know how else to say it. You don't need the director, the DP, the the gaffer, the producers, the main lead, and the writer all trying to put their voice into one thing, which I have seen. The director needs to be left to do their job. They were paid to do this job, okay? It doesn't matter how they misinterpret the script. It doesn't matter that the producers and them are arguing. They need to have their voice be shown in clear light. I really can't stress that enough. Multiple voices is just so confusing and just it's weird and nobody likes it. Not once has it turned into a good product. And that's what I have to say about that. By the way, if you couldn't tell, I'm very tired and I'm wearing this dumb turtleneck for some reason because I don't know. I guess turtleneck means like critic. I'm gonna take this thing off. Now with this formula, I want to talk about something that you really don't need. Some of this, yes, it helps, but it might be good to not do these things. So I just want to go down the list. First off, production value. All right, everybody wants a big budget. Of course they do, you know, they want to get paid really well. Honestly, I think having a smaller budget can really help. Sometimes it forces an artist to be a little more creative. It makes them think outside the box. I mean, originally, there's that famous story of Jaws. Steven Spielberg wanted to use the shark more, but the robot mechanical thing that they built, Bruce, wasn't made for water. So Steven Spielberg had to think around that and did a lot of more point of view shots where you didn't see the shark as much, and it helped out the film so much. I know I've talked about this so many times with horror films and how it helps a lot not to have good budget, but honestly, there's a lot of good points in that. Another thing that's unnecessary is a star cast. Sure, it helps. And it really helps marketing wise because, you know, people will be like, oh my gosh, it's that guy. Oh my gosh, it's that guy. Oh my gosh, it's that dude. This is such an amazing star-studded cast. You don't need that. That takes a lot of money out of the budget, which if you're trying to go for a lower budget value, then that's just gonna take a lot of it. I think it's really smart to have a star or two in it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the main character. You know, sometimes it's really good to take a chance on some unknown. Originally in Thor, nobody knew who the hell Chris Hemsworth or Tom Hiddleston are, and now they've made these unknowns a very well-known bunch. Just something to think on. You know, sometimes it's nice to experiment. Really what I'm saying is, you know, popularity doesn't equal good, and I think people get carried away with that. Another thing, it follows the hero's journey. You don't need it. I'm sorry, I'm so sick and tired of hearing the hero's journey. It's tiresome. I don't care. You don't have to force a mentor in every single movie. It's stupid, honestly. You know, sometimes all you need is a good sidekick or a good friend or whatever. Sometimes it's good for a character to learn things on their own, all right? They don't need somebody talking in their ear. Personally, I'm more of a fan of Dan Harmon's Story Circle. That's me, and even then, I try to not follow it as much as possible. Another thing that is extremely unnecessary, and honestly you should probably look to avoid, is a sex scene. It just makes me uncomfortable. I'm sure it's super uncomfortable to work on in the production. You know, people are naked, they have to be into it. It's a lot, and literally everyone has had this experience where you're watching a movie, there's been nothing so far, and then a sex scene comes up and your parents walk in. Or you're watching a sex scene and your kids are coming in. It's just awkward, and like I understand sometimes you want to, it's just not for me. I think, I don't know, it's kind of a cliche quote that's been thrown around for decades, but it's from Quentin Tarantino. I know, you guys have heard about him a million times, but he speaks some truth. You don't have to know how to make a movie. If you truly love cinema with all your heart and with enough passion, you can't help but make a good movie. If you love the art of storytelling, you can't help but succumb to your idea. And I just kind of want to leave that note before I go into my perfect movie. I know you guys have been waiting for it for this entire segment, so let's just get into it. What is my perfect movie? Well, it's the 2006 masterpiece, Flushed Away, with Hugh Jackman and a star-studded cast. I know it went a little bit against what my rules were, but come on. There's a lot of famous people in there. This is a really good movie. I watched this movie a lot as a kid, and it held on me. All right, this is a very quotable movie, especially Bill Nye's character Whitey, who plays like experimental lab. I don't know, but he's hilarious. Oh my gosh, the comedic chops on him, phenomenal. There's this one line of "My bum's like a Japanese flag." Let me tell you, I did not hear that as a kid, but now as an adult, hearing that's hilarious. It's funny. I don't know. These characters show depth and insecurity, and you can relate with them, which I very much admire in this kids movie. Even with Toad, the antagonist, but as crazy as he might appear, it's like his purpose has a true meaning behind it, and it comes from a real place, it seems like, even though it's claymation. The soundtrack, phenomenal, all right? We got Billy Idol, we got Davy Jones, we got that one song that was super popular in the 2000s that went like, I'm so lonely, all on my own. Where it sounds like Gizmo from Gremlins. I think it's just fantastic. But mainly what makes this movie so extremely important that I've mentioned before is that it has a voice. Its voice is so clear and tasteful, and it doesn't waste any time with character design. You see the little bits of trash that they use with the characters. You see this and that. It's just, I don't know. It's very cool and edgy and very recommended. Also, clearly I'm joking. And I'd have to say the perfect movie is...
Okay, so now it's time to talk about Night and Day and Bang Bang, the original and then its remake. Both movies were produced essentially by the same movie studio, 20th Century Fox, and then its Indian counterpart or subsidiary, Fox Star Studios, both of whom I don't really think exist in the same form that they used to back then, because now they're owned by Disney. But Night and Day, 2010, Bang Bang, 2014, came out 4 years apart, so it's not like we've done this once before, right? This is Bollywood versus Hollywood 2. We did it once before when we compared ET Extraterrestrial with Koi Mil Gaya. So obviously those were like, 20, 30 years apart, because one of them came out in the 80s, Steven Spielberg classic. The other one, the first of its kind, really, sci-fi movie in Bollywood.
There's another connection that we could make to that.
Yes.
What's the connection?
It's the same lead actor who plays the main role in Koi Mil Gaya is the one who plays the lead role in Bang Bang.
I have got a question. Is that India's Tom Cruise, essentially? Is that like India's everything, every single, like Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio in one? Is that the only sort of actor there is? Or...
Well, okay, so here's what I'll say to that. There is only one Tom Cruise in the world, and there is no comparison, because you could say maybe like he's 60% Tom Cruise, but he was really not Tom Cruise, because he doesn't do all of his own stunts like Tom Cruise does. And I think we'll talk about that today, because that's one of the things I noticed between the two movies was you could tell in a lot of the stunt sequences in Night and Day that it was Cruise driving the car, driving the bike, running on the rooftops, taking shots, falls, or whatever. There were some times where they cheated it clearly, but there were a lot more action sequences in Night and Day where you could tell that they either had a green screen shot and they did background replacements, or they literally did face replacements in a lot of sequences, which just means they had a stunt performer doing all the stuff, and they just replaced his face with HRITHIK Roshan's face in those. You could tell that there's a lot of... both movies have some rough compositing issues, but those are my VFX notes we can compare later. Let's start off by first kind of setting the stage here, and in case you guys have not seen any of these movies, which, by the way, what are you doing? I mean, I get it, they just weren't really the biggest movies out there. Well, but in Bollywood, in Bang Bang was like one of the biggest movies of the year, but for Hollywood, Night and Day was like, it just came and went. But
was it not like a flop?
Sort of. It was a flop considering the budget versus what it made. Although I think they walked away with a slight bit of a profit, but we'll talk about that. So I just wanted to, before we get into it, give a spoiler warning. So in case you have not seen these movies, we will get into spoilery details. So and both of these movies have sort of plot, twists and turns, so it does sort of affect your viewing of the film. So you have been warned. Tread carefully if you want to watch the movies, then come back to this, do that. But that's up to you. So we will just roll into it, and the way we want to kick things off here is by first reviewing each movie on its own. We'll do a quick review, and then we will just dive into the comparison, and we will just debate about which one's better, which one did. I think it's hard to tell maybe which one's better, but we will definitely compare the two. So let's start off with Night and Day. Night and Day, 2010, Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz. It's made by Miramax Films. Or no, it's not. I'm talking about a different movie. Sorry, confused it with Pulp Fiction because I was working on that. It's made by 20th Century Fox. Yeah. What did you guys think about Night and Day?
Rowan, go first.
Yeah.
I
I'm
liked
interested
it.
to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, I kind of have some mixed feelings about it because I actually watched Bang Bang first.
Me too.
Oh,
That's how I
Yeah.
started. I did it in reverse.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
weird. Yeah.
okay.
I think I was just like so used to I thought Bang Bang had an amazing setup, but we're not talking about Bang Bang. We're talking about Night and Day, Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz, who I didn't care for. I thought Cameron Diaz I thought was really charming on the airplane. They had this cute conversation, and then
Yeah.
even though she's supposed to be this kind of like tough girl, she just seems kind of
Fragile.
just like fragile, just like dumb, just like doesn't seem to understand what's happening whatsoever in like a very extreme manner. And then at some point, even though there's like, I think Tom Cruise like shows her how to defend like once, and then it's back to the same old ways. And then Tom Cruise, spoiler alert, like dies, and then she becomes tough, and then she understands the spy work, which was just kind of like a very, I don't
Do
know.
you think? I thought that was the whole with me, without me, with me, without me. That was
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it got to her. Don't you think that was where she was like, oh shit, yeah, okay, I am part of this now?
I guess it's probably because
No.
I watched Bang Bang first. It was with Bang Bang, it was more of like a natural line of
Progression.
like she
Right.
learned how to be a spy. She was like, no, I'm not gonna go behind your back. Like I'm coming with you. Like she was very straightforward in Bang Bang.
Yeah.
On Night and Day, Cameron Diaz was just doing her own thing.
Yeah. I
That's
see
me
that.
personally.
No, I see that. But I mean, I think I'm the only person who watched Night and Day before watched
Yeah.
Bang Bang. And
Others- yeah,
I had to rewatch it because strangely, I have seen it when it came out, weirdly. I mean, all closely around that time, but I've seen it quite fresh. And I don't know. Okay, here's unpopular opinion. I'm a fan of Tom Cruise. He's just, he's a hardworking actor who is just great at what he does. And
Yeah.
yes, there is a lot of Mission Impossibles, and there is a lot of I'm sorry, there's some crazy driver outside. There is some just Tom Cruise's films. They're just called different things, but it's still very much a Tom Cruise film. And yes, his work ethic is. Anyway, there's a lot of unpleasantness around him. I feel like that's all we hear. However, him as an actor who portrays characters, it's hard not to find it charming and engaging. And as I said, there with me, without me, with me, without it. I was in tears. I was laughing so
That was
hard.
funny. I did like that.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Absolutely.
And as you, Rowan, said, the Cameron Diaz was very charming, very human. And to me,
Yeah.
that was a push. Her being, knowing how to like get him out of the hospital, like that might have been a little bit of a push for me. It's like, do you really know how to shoot on the motorcycle now? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I understand why it was a flop at that time when you compare it to other films that came out the same year.
Mm-hmm.
However, I enjoyed it definitely more than Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Dan, what did you think?
Said it.
Yeah, I was just piggybacking off what Max said. I mean, 2010. I'm forgetting exactly what the movies looked like that year, but I feel like wasn't that like around the time the Marvel Cinematic Universe was getting off the ground, and maybe I think there was maybe an Iron Man movie, like Iron Man 2 might have come out that year.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think Incredible
Um,
Hulk came out during that time. might be crazy for
I
saying
think
that.
Incredible Hulk
It's
came out in 2008, like when Iron Man came out and The Dark Knight. 2010 was. I feel like Inception came out in 2010 because I know Nolan did that between the two Dark Knight movies.
also, it is
Yeah.
like a romantic comedy placed in an action film, and I feel like around that time we had an abundance of those type of films
you know,
already. Maybe
and
no
there-
action films, but romantic comedies. It was, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a genre that was popular at the time. Even like I think you can call like all of the Iron Man movies action comedies in a sense too, right? But
Yeah.
speaking of which, but talking about this movie specifically, I'll just kind of jump off of that point about the action comedy aspect of it. Like for me, this movie as an action comedy is something today, 12 years later, 2022, comes across as refreshing. I feel like we don't have enough of those these days. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the movie where it had a bit of everything. It just didn't feel like it kind of fit into the mold of movies that we tend to see a lot in theaters today, especially like the big budget ones. Like this movie had a budget of $117 million, which a good amount of that went to Tom Cruise, admittedly, but for his for his fees and whatnot, and he got like a chunk from the revenues, which is probably not much. But the point is that a movie of this kind of budget level today, you don't see a lot that are like that. Or
You
if
don't
they
you
are,
don't in you don't in cinema stand, but you should always consider that we didn't have streaming services then.
well,
If
no,
that
no,
film
that's
came out-
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But what I'm trying to say is like today, a movie with that kind of a budget, with the Tom Cruise, A-list actors like Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz attached, it wouldn't be a straight up, let's just do a standalone, or you could they left room for a sequel in both of these movies, but let's just do an original scripted, quick. I mean, Night and Day is like 90 odd minutes, so it's very breezy. Action comedy premise, straight up, could be in the real world kind of a situation. You just don't see that much today. You do that, you're like, okay, you do that, but then make it about Thor or make it about like some DC superhero. Like it kind of has to tie into one of those bigger tentpole ideas. So I enjoyed that refreshing aspect of it. I will say this though, I fully admit that the movie's pacing felt a bit off. Like especially,
Yeah.
again, like Max, you watched in the different order than Roland and I did. So I think that didn't hit, like much like for Roland, I felt like even though 2.5 hours felt a bit too long for Bang Bang, it in comparison did a much better job of hitting the beats, like the plot points, and letting them breathe rather than this movie
Yeah.
where it just felt like
it fixed a lot of those issues for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And I don't know. I
Mhm.
didn't have a chance to look at the reviews for either of these movies, so I don't know what critics said at the time about that, or for that matter, the other people. But I noticed that, and maybe it was on purpose, that Night and Day just felt like it hit the ground running and never stopped, and it just felt like that. And that helps the action element of it, what I found lacking in this movie was it was hard for me to kind of not necessarily relate to the characters individually of Cruz and Diaz, but to their relationship, which is the heart meant to be the heart of the story. And I just sort of struggled kind of root for them as
Believe
a
in
team,
it.
and then believe the fact that they're actually in love with each other. Like even the last scene where they're, at the beach in the car, and I'm like, okay, great. I hope it develops into a really fantastic relationship. I don't know if it's there yet, but it's meant to be like, oh, we're meant to believe that they're, star-crossed lovers that are going to be loved
Sure,
forever.
but if you look at, I mean, I know that we're not talking about Bang Bang, but now that
Yeah.
we're talking about Night and Day, their wardrobe was less revealing, and I think that sort of helped with believing into the relationship in the Bang Bang, whereas Night and Day, they're fully clothed most of the time.
It's much more realistic.
I
I
feel
think,
like
yeah.
Bang Bang being over sexualized so much does help into believing into romantic kind of
Oh
story
no,
between those
absolutely. It was a trend, and I think still is a trend in Bollywood where these big, by Bollywood standards, with a tentpole big action adventure movie, Bang Bang is let's just kind of transition over to that now. I think we have enough
Well,
of the
actually,
comparison.
before we transition, can I just say Paul
Yeah.
Dano in Night and Day was
Yeah.
fantastic. Like he wasn't there
Yes.
for long, but he stole the screen. I loved him in it.
He really did. Yeah.
It was
Oh,
yeah, underrated, as he's been
it
throughout
was
his
so
career,
good.
you know.
Especially after we just saw Batman, you know, it was so nice to see him where he
Yeah.
started. It was like, yeah, of course you ended up as Riddler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. But okay, so diving into night to sorry, I'm gonna confuse the names.
You're good.
Diving into Bang Bang, right? Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's over sexualized. It's this and on Bollywood they call it like glamorized, like the word glamour. They don't like to use the
Fair
word
Yeah.
enough.
sex. Like it you know it is what it is. But cultural standards and whatnot. But
Yeah.
that movie, I mean, it's part of the way it's shot and the way it looks. Like every time the two leads are on screen, they need to look like the most beautiful people in the world, the best looking, like, you know, the body and like
Yeah.
makeup and hair and everything. And you
He
see
was
a
sucking
lot
in
of
his stomach all the time when his shirt was off. I don't know if
yeah,
anyone else noticed
yeah.
that, but it was
I'm
so
like
obvious
I
to
had
me.
to
chisel like a
turn.
god. Yeah.
It was too much for me.
Poor guy.
I was gonna
I
ask, what did you think about all of that stuff? Because I'm pretty sure that was aimed at like, I'm sorry, like not at guys necessarily, unless you know you're into other guys. But I'm just saying, um, but it is part of a
don't get
trend
me
in
wrong.
Bollywood.
I
You
saw
know,
it and I was like, "That's impressive.
it is, it
That's
is.
good."
No, because
I
I've
What
like
do you
actually
that,
do
seen
with
some
your
but
behind the
life?
scenes. There's some behind the scenes stuff of him doing stuff, not for that movie necessarily, but I've seen it for other movies where literally before the sequences where he needs to kind of show off his physique, they would, and I think it's not just Bollywood, they do this in Hollywood too. Like I think for Superman, Man of Steel's behind the scenes, you before you go to shoot one of those sequences, they're like, all right, like they have a trainer on site, and you go like do some exercises
It's not even that. It
and
was
get
Henry Cavill. He was talking about his role in Witcher.
yeah,
They dehydrate the body like a day before the
yeah,
shoot
mhm,
because then the skin kind of presents itself better on the muscle tissue. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Hugh Jackman
Um,
talks about that a lot as Wolverine.
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm sure it's not the healthiest way. We should definitely say it out there, like, guys, don't try to do that.
Trying to
Yeah.
look like that, it's sort of it's like the same thing with you know with those cosmetics ads. It's like or like those Instagram filters. It's not realistic. You
Yeah.
can't pull that off on a day-to-day basis, walking around doing what you would do on a day every day, right? It's but at the same time, look, let's talk about the movie itself though. I think Roland and I already mentioned that it felt much like it was better paced. And I'll be honest, even if you cut out the 20-25 minutes from the movie that were about the songs, there was 4 or 5 songs. There was a song in the credit sequence, the end credits. I think the movie still is paced better. Like adding an extra 20 minutes to maybe Night and Day would have helped too. Would you guys agree?
Am I crazy for saying that I like how they have the thief or like the whole dynamic better
They
than
have
Night
what?
and
Sorry?
Day? So in Bang Bang, instead of having like, oh, it's a whole federal thing, like where this high school kid has created this new energy source, what
Right.
Bang
Yeah.
Bang has done is that actually,
It's just a gem.
yeah, it's like it's a gem that was stolen from India. I think they said 150 years ago, something along
Yeah.
those lines.
Yeah, it was this like big it's actually is that part of it is like based on real, like it actually is true. If you go to
Yeah.
the Tower of London, I think it's on display because they took it's like this huge diamond. They took it from the back when the British were you know had were ruling over in the subcontinent. They took that diamond and then added it to the Queen's crown as one of his jewels, and so it's based on like a
Yeah.
real life thing.
But so you're saying it works better changing that plot device?
I think with the meaning behind the actual thing, I cared more about that MacGuffin than the
Okay.
whole energy saving thing.
Right.
That was me personally. Dan, I don't know how you feel.
I felt like I think it felt like a more grounded way to approach it. I think the way they did it in Night and Day was more it was more in line with what you were seeing in Hollywood at the time, like a little more escapist. And also at the
Mhm.
same time, you're like, you know what? It's not the focus of the story. Like it could be it's a MacGuffin. It could be literally anything like that he's trying to protect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's actually a
Yeah.
good point because
'Cause it
in
wasn't
Bang
tied
Bang
to the
that was just
character as
like
much.
on the side playing
Yeah.
out. It was more, him escaping, whereas it was everything was around that battery and then Paul Dano. But hey, we got to
Yeah.
see him at least, so
Yeah.
there was no space for him in the thingy. But yeah, what do you think about all the additional characters? like the grammar of the main female lead, or the fact that we actually get to see, I mean, I'm going to jump right into the ending, but we get to see the son being reunited with parents that believe that he's dead, essentially. So how did you feel about those two?
That ending was so much better. I'm sorry, but Bang Bang,
Really?
because, well, it starts off, it's kind of like the guy's a little funny, he's having that conversation with his mom, and then it's just like this very kind of like intense scene where he gets shot, and so you care more about it once you find out what the importance of this person was, and it just it was more of like an emotional peel at the end.
Right.
I mean, Mags, did that go through with you? Because I know that
I mean, I like these sort of hinted endings. I like to imagine what went on. But so it's not even with Night Today or Bang Bang, but generally I'm more a fan of those make up your own ending to it. And we get, a glimpse of them winning tickets in lottery again. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, so probably that's what happens. But I don't know. I wasn't sure about grammar though. The female lead having his grammar there like all the time.
She grew on me.
I enjoyed that because I really did, because it's sort of like it breaks the whole like old fashioned grandparents what would you call it, stereotype, but I felt like it gave it, because here's the thing, I think Katrina Kaif, who's the female lead, and HRITHIK Roshan is of course the male lead, but like for Katrina Kaif, she's somebody, if you notice, there's a few lines that in the movie that are spoken in English, and that's because she's actually was born in England, and growing up, English was her like first language, so her Hindi has never been great. In fact, her first few movies of her career, they hired like a voice actor to dub her lines. And even today, even in 2014 to even today, she's gotten better over time, but it's her delivery has never been that great, never been her strength. She's a great dancer. She's, her physicality is great. She's obviously, looks great and all that stuff, but she's never been the greatest actress, right?
She's a beautiful woman.
No, she is. No. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the only thing that's like been like at this point, even today, like I said, and even in that movie is lacking, is she doesn't come across as like the most relatable. Really, I think Cameron Diaz, for example, if I were to take first, I don't think it's unfair to mash up the two combination of actors, but I thought that Cameron Diaz did a much better job of portraying a more relatable character than she did in this movie, Katrina Kaif, that is. But at the same time, or rather, I think the grandma character helped balance that. Like it gave you something to attach to that was not super flighty and surface level. That's because that's how her Katrina Kaif's character came off.
Real quick,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say real quick, that's funny that you said something about her lines being in English. So when I watched Bang Bang, this is probably not the most moral thing. I watched like a dubbed version, or that's what it said, because that was the only thing I could find with like English subtitles. So there was like weird audio throughout, and then every once in a while somebody would say English, and I'd be like, I guess they did that for reasons, and then I just move on. I didn't know that was actually in the movie.
No, because like in a lot of Hindi movies and Bollywood films, they do that nowadays. It's gone to the point where over time they've done more and more, where it's 95% English, Hindi, but then there's a few lines of English like every once in a while. I think we noticed that in the last time we did the comparison in Koi Mil Gaya, there was some like English dialogue here and there as well. They sprinkle it in because the idea is, people there all tend to understand, not all, but like, English is the world's language, if you will. So yeah. But yeah,
Mags,
diving
I
into
didn't mean to interrupt. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because it sounds like I am the party popper here. So do you reckon I should have watched Bang Bang first? Like, so for people out there, maybe that's what spoiled Bang Bang for me, having watched Night and Day first and having that sort of bent there. What do you guys think?
I mean, with a comparison, of course, you're gonna compare the movie to the other one. It just depends on which movie you watch first. So we watched Bang Bang first, so of course that's what our original idea is Bang Bang.
But it was released later.
I know, but because I watched it first,
so many scenes, and I think I was hurt by this. But like, if you're making a remake, just completely rewrite pretty much everything. I didn't like that they still kept some of the most brilliant scenes in Night and Day, obviously quote unquote brilliant, but and just said them or play them out word to word in Bang Bang. I think I was a bit hurt by it. I was like, just stick to it. Like, I know you use the idea, but just write your own things. I don't know.
I thought the complete opposite, because so again, it depends, I guess, on your definition of what a reboot or a remake should be. In this case, the same studio made both movies. Like, one subsidiary of a studio made the other one, right? So, and then they started the movie, they even like have a credit saying based on Night and Day,
Yeah.
written by Patrick O'Neill. So I thought, so to me, I was like, okay, so I expected Bang Bang to be literal beat by beat, like as much as possible remake of the original. But what they ended up doing was they took a lot of the key plot points, but then they built like almost an original story around it. But obviously they kept some like nice callbacks. There's even a few ways where they dig at like Night and Day, because I think in for example, in Night and Day there's a scene where I think Cameron Diaz's character, who's like, I probably should consult with a lawyer before saying anything else, when she's in the car with the federal agent.
Yeah.
And in Bang Bang, there's the point where the grandma is being like hounded by the press at her house. She's like, I'm going to consult with a lawyer before answering your questions. And one of the reporters like answers by, "You're watching too many Hollywood movies." And I was like, oh, and I got the reference when I watched Night and Day after the fact. I'm like, okay, like I see, because they were clever about it. Like it's a lot of subtle things like that where, yeah, I enjoyed both movies, but it's kind of interesting that when you watch them in two different orders, you come away with drastically different opinions of the two. I mean, what do we agree on? No, not drastic. I mean, I don't know. Is it drastic?
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mags, what did you think? Because one of the big points about this is Night and Day is literally like an hour longer than hour shorter than Bang Bang. Night and Day is like hour 40 something. It's 109 minutes, and then Bang Bang is a lot longer. It's like 153 minutes. I mean, so it's not long. It's almost longer by about an hour, but not exactly an hour. But it is significant.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Night and Day does not have any songs, and then Bollywood movies all have songs. So Bang Bang has like 4 or 5 songs, so they take up a good amount of time as well. So how did you think that? I mean, what did you think about that difference? Do you think that helped the pacing? Do you think that helped the story, or like how you connected with the characters? What did you think about that?
Well, after doing the review for ET, I was completely ready for Bollywood being longer and having musical numbers, even in an action film. I was completely ready for it. But yeah, having said that, as we sort of started a conversation, I really think it helped it, because you had a chance to really stay with certain events for long enough. You had more time to breathe, unlike Night and Day. So perhaps that's what Hollywood needed, just needed this sort of extra time that they didn't get, whereas Bollywood's allowed to get it. Yeah, that's my opinion. Rolan, do you think so too? Or
yeah,
or do you think it should have been shorter?
I think me and Dan have had a conversation, like offline, of where Bollywood movies are longer because they're more enjoyable. Bang Bang is a very stylized movie, so I think once you get past that, you're just so used to it, and you're like, okay, he's jumping into nothing. That's the movie. Yeah, he's fine. That's what I expected. And then with Night and Day, since it's somewhat of a more realistic version, and when it does do things that are just kind of like out there, I think it pokes out more of like a sore thumb.
Right.
But with Bang Bang, you can slide past it because you're like, oh well, it's just a way of storytelling. I mean,
yeah.
Dan, you want to bring us in the middle somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you guys. I think it's by and large, it is a product of that, because the Bollywood style of filmmaking is this heightened, reality, this not hyper reality, not in the sense that it's super real, like, oh, it's disturbingly real, but it's a little more like high in the sky sort of a style of doing things. Whereas if you watch, and again, this is a very good point of comparison, because these two movies, there's a lot of key points. Like the locations they go to are basically the same. Like they follow the whole island routine and everything. But yeah, it's, I mean, the songs kind of help that too. Like one of the movies like feels more distant and less realistic than the other. But definitely the fact that if you're watching Bang Bang, you're very much, once you get into it and you suspend your disbelief, you're like, okay, well, great. I'll just kind of follow along. This is so much fun. I'm into it. And I think the songs do a good job of also kind of breaking things up, because then that helps you kind of sit with the characters. And even if you're not necessarily into, like like you said, like the over sexualization or the glamorization of the film, it does
But they're
help.
catchy. The music and music videos, and I can see how it
Yeah.
works. However, I feel like in Hollywood, that type of film would have been much more successful in 90s or like
Right.
early 2000s.
Yeah, it's the taste of the audiences. I mean, these two movies are appealing
Yeah.
to drastically different kinds of audiences. It's sort of, and it kind of reflects in the kind of movie that you get at the end. Whereas, with Bollywood, like, people like a lot of emotion, and romance is like one of the biggest genres there. Whereas in the U.S. and in Hollywood movies, it's like sci-fi and then action movies, and that's kind of what
Yeah.
what Night and Day delivers. So yeah. No, I mean, for one of the things I will point out, both of these movies had some, VFX issues. Like, they had some bad compositing, some overexposed explosions, some like bad CGI stuff. But at the same time, there was some good VFX. Like, I think in Bang Bang, you guys noticed where he comes out of the water with those jets, like,
It
coming
was
out of his.
it was great.
If you
It
there's
was
like
so good.
the VFX
Yeah.
behind that will blow your mind if you don't know about how they did it, because if you watch, I think Corridor Crew guys on YouTube did a great breakdown of it, and you can just go look at behind the scenes footage. That's a real thing. Like, but in real life, there's two water hoses that are also coming out of that, and
Yeah.
then they're spraying out water. So in the movie, like, VFX artists had to go frame by frame, rotoscope those two big pipes out, and then replace the water, which is incredibly hard to do, like in a video.
It didn't look like CGI to me.
Exactly.
Like,
No,
I'm actually surprised by you telling me this was CGI. I
I'm
thought he
telling
learned
you.
it because I was, yeah.
I'll
He
find the
can
video and
dance,
send
he
it to
can
you.
sing, he knows how to operate that.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I think Andrew pointed this out last time we did this. I'm like, look, Tom Cruise might be great at doing all of his own stunts, but like, he's not the dancer that HRITHIK Roshan is, like, clearly. So
Exactly.
they're both movies
And
have their, like,
well, happy for that.
yeah, they both have their plus points. I mean, so just to kind of put a uh I don't know, lid on this and kind of finalize in conclusion, what did you, overall, where do you guys sit with this comparison? Do you think it's a good thing that these two movies exist and not just, one of them? And I mean, which one did you like better?
Roland?
I was gonna say, I think it's good. I don't know. I'm just glad it wasn't a shot for shot, and I think they did a good job. I don't know. Mag is probably disagreeing with me, but I thought they did a good job of
Yeah.
making it their own thing, and I personally like Bang Bang more. But
Hey, Andrew isn't here. I need to disagree with someone.
yeah, really.
Yeah, Andrew will be throwing out all kinds of hot takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mags, what did you think?
No, I don't disagree with you, Roland. Like, I see how both of them can exist and how they serve the purpose for them. It all comes down to personal preference. And I actually developed the theory that I should have watched the Bang Bang first before Night and Day. And next time we do that, I will do just that. I will watch the Bollywood version first and then Hollywood and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things. I don't think it's gonna be true every time out that you watch one movie and then you watch the other and one is better than the like, the Bollywood version is better because it's longer and whatever. But in this situation, yes, I do agree that I think overall when you compare the two movies, Bang Bang was the better film for me. And if you look at the money, like, I think Night and Day barely squeaked out a profit, and part of that had to, obviously go to their investors.
Wow.
And then Tom Cruise got a revenue share. Whereas Bang Bang, I think, was definitely easily profitable for the filmmaker. So I think financially the success is reflected in these movies. But yeah, I mean, I think this was a great comparison. Last time we compared two movies that were similar but very different, whereas these two movies are like a direct comparison. So I really enjoyed these. I hope we do more of these in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad that we got to do another one. And that was like more obvious remake than E.T. because the E.T. and oh my goodness, I forgot the name.
Koi Milgia, yeah.
Yeah, yes, that felt like a completely different film to E.T. So this was like a lot more relatable. So
yeah,
let's do more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a comparison between Night and Day and Bang Bang and what we would call Bollywood versus Hollywood too. And we'll try to do more of these. We'll find other examples. I'm sure there's others out there. We don't have to compare Bollywood to Hollywood every time. We can go in different directions. But right now, we're gonna go in a very different direction. Speaking of which, we did something new to this week. We did this new segment that we put together, that Max put together, and we just simply titled it, "Hey Magdalena, let's take a look."
I gotta know what a $5 shake tastes like. God damn, it's a pretty fucking good milkshake.
Guess what we're making today? Oh, the hankers. All you need is 1 banana, medium, 3 drops of vanilla essence, 300 grams of vanilla ice cream, must be vanilla, 200 grams of natural yogurt, 250 milliliters of milk, any will do, and 2 tablespoons of clear honey.
Moments later.
That's a pretty fucking good milkshake.
Told you.
I don't know if it was worth $5, but it was pretty fucking good.
Okay, and that brings us to our preview of the Oscars. Well, the Oscars are coming up. They're not that far away, and we want to talk about it. Not only do we want to talk about it right now and, maybe give some bold predictions, but we also want to tell you guys all about how we are going to be live streaming a watch-along show for the Oscars. So as you watch the Oscars, you can watch us talking about the Oscars. If you don't like the host, if you don't like the broadcast, and you just don't want commercials, you can just tune into our live stream. So it's going to be at 7 p.m. March 27th, the Sunday of the Oscars, 7 p.m. Eastern time, that is. We're going to be live. We're going to be live on YouTube. We're going to be live on Twitch. We're going to be live on we'll try to do Twitter and Facebook. We'll see how that works out. But definitely YouTube, where you can find all of our other content. You'll find us there as well. So if you're following our channel, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell and all that, so that when the time comes, you get a notification that we're going live 7 p.m. once again on March 27th, the night of the Oscars. So, any bold predictions, guys? I mean, there's obviously award categories. We have hosts. Do you guys have any predictions for that?
Well, I'm in Europe, so on the night of the Oscars, I will be very tired. And yeah, no, fingers crossed for Belfast. I watched it the other day and I thought it was a very unique piece of work. So yeah, there it is. Belfast is the bottom.
It's a black and white one.
Yeah.
Yes, the one black and white.
If you guys haven't seen it, definitely go and see it. And Power of Dog was also incredible. So these are my two kind of favorite.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should be a big fan of Dune, but I think there are better films in there. Anyway, Rolan?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys are history buffs, but it's coming up to the 50th anniversary of the 74 Streaker. I think there's gonna be I think there's gonna be another one. That's my prediction. I don't know. Also,
What's that?
I've been thinking real hard and just having my own crystal ball of my own, and I'm thinking that Dune is going to win an award. I know it's crazy. It's definitely going against Mags, but
I mean, they will win an award. I don't think they'll get best.
I know it's
picture.
controversial, but
My God, Roland.
Hey,
Andrew's not here. I don't have anyone to bicker with, so Mags, you're.
I mean,
Well,
they have like what the second most nominated. It's the second most nominated film.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it? Like they have 11 nominations, and like Power of Dog is 12, where it's like 12 or 13 or 11, whatever. Like they basically are in almost every category of the night.
Yeah.
And my bold prediction is that Will Smith, who so far has collected the Best Actor award at I think the Screen Actors Guild, in the lead role that is, and also at like the Critics' Choice Award, which usually they are like precursors to what would happen on the night of the Oscars. For his performance in King Richard, I think the Academy will not give it to Will Smith. That is a very bold prediction that even I'm doubting as I say it. But if anything, that's the boldest prediction that I'm going to make. The other bold prediction I'm going to make is that even though we have in the past kind of looked down on the selection of hosts that they have, not in the sense that they're bad people or like, oh, I wouldn't watch that. We just thought they could have done better, like considering how the last couple of years have been, or the last few years have been with no host. But Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes, I think those three are gonna do a much better job. And especially if they divide it up into an hour, I think people will realize that maybe the format that they have in mind is gonna work a lot better than they thought it would. And of course, the presentation will feature fewer categories live, and they're gonna do a few categories beforehand and then play them out in highlights during the show. So I think the format of the show will be faster.
I wonder if that's going to give them more viewership. I wonder if that's another sort of prediction. So, or like, let's see, what do you guys think? Is that going to make people watch Oscars this year, or it won't? Still doesn't matter.
I don't know, Roland. What do you think?
Since we're doing the live stream, then people are going to watch it.
I mean, people might. You know what? If you're watching the show, just put it on in the background, mute it, and then just watch us. We'll tell you who won. We'll tell you if Will Smith won. Like we will tell you who's taken those gold statuettes home. But yeah, I think the streamlined version of the show will hopefully not go like 50 minutes overtime. Like we'll go on the air at 7 p.m. Eastern. The show starts at 8, so we'll have like an hour of predictions, red carpet stuff, and I hope we're not here at midnight Eastern time still talking about the show because it's still on air, or like there's another snafu with the best film. I don't know. But I think the show's I'm looking forward to it. I have watched a lot more movies that are nominated at the Oscars this year than I usually do. I don't know, like maybe that's the reflection of my taste in films. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. It should be a fun night for all of us.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We have to talk about
Let's
exactly
do it.
how we're gonna put it together. I'm excited for this show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that, don't forget to join us for that show. Again, live 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday of the Oscars, March 27th. But until then, Roland, where can the good people find us on our social media?
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. Do you have any social media? Do you have any streaming services? Guess what? Oh So Curious is on there. I didn't want an actual answer. Just let me do my thing. All right. Oh So Curious? Yeah, we're there for you to listen. You need a voice in your ear? Guess what? We have ours. Don't worry. We're there for you. All you have to do is just follow, like, subscribe. Other synonyms? I don't know. But we're there. And then there would be like a fade out type thing, but we don't have that's not the design we have right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mags, take us out.
Yeah, like, subscribe, you know the drill, and we see you on March 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. There's going to be Roland, there's going to be Dan, there's going to be Andrew, there's going to be Brian, there's going to be me with a big pot of coffee. And yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, see ya. Did I do it right? Good? Yeah, okay. Bye.